Good afternoon, it is I, Nick Watts, back for We Love Betting after the international break to take another look at the Premier League coupon. I have to say, I've moved house in the last couple of weeks and my internet is being a bit of a pain. I haven't had my broadband installed yet, so I'm using a dongle which has mixed results to say the least. Painfully slow at times and very difficult to do real in-depth analysis of a Premier League coupon as a result. I have come up with 3 bets this week, but whether I can promise them my absolute 3 best bets is another matter. So excuses. Let's just get on with it, shall we? And I'm breaking a rule straight away in my first pick, in that I'm going to the Arsenal-Southampton game. Never bet on Arsenal games, usually. Stay clear of them entirely. Just too much emotion involved when you're a fan. I've got a soft spot for Southampton as well because I went to uni there, so probably should be staying away, but I haven't backed Southampton under 2.5 goals for a good few weeks now, and frankly I miss doing so. It was the staple bet of the early part of the season. Missed out the last 2 or 3 weeks, and just got a bit of a craving really, bearing in mind Southampton's record. I have to say Arsenal probably lay at the price in this game based on Southampton's fantastic start to the season. Bizarre that their only defeat was against Norwich, of course, but they got that draw at Man United. They won at Liverpool, but it's definitely their knack for unders that really attracts here. They're the absolute kings. Over the last 20 games, so stretching into last season, 16 of 20 have gone under 2.5 goals. Away from home, that's 14 of 20. So, you know, plenty in favour when the price is here at 10 to 11. It's basically a coin flip with a little bit of margin thrown in from the bookies. And surprisingly, Arsenal, against this group of teams, sides occupying a top 6 position, that is, at the time of playing, have seen 8 of 10 games at the Emirates go under 2.5 goals as well. So they're prone to a tight game in these kind of circumstances too. So while the signs that Southampton's attack is improving, I do think they're like to go back to their miserly ways against the likes of Arsenal. And I think unders at 10 to 11 needs to be backed. On to the next then, it's Fulham v Swansea, and I'm going the opposite way here. There's some stats that contravene what I'm thinking, but to me it just smacks of value here. Over 2.5 goals is 6 to 5, which frankly in most Premier League games is probably too big a price, but particularly when you've got a Fulham defence here involved that's really quite poor. I mean, they've had a bad start to the season all round, sitting in 18th, only win against Palace. Swansea haven't had a great start, has to be said. Their only wins were against Palace and a pre-Poyet Sunderland as well. So they did make a bit of a mockery of my assessment that they lack creativity without Hernandez and Michu last time out. That 3-3 draw against Stoke actually did me a favour. I was expecting a low-scoring draw, but I backed the draw, and 3-3 does the same as 0-0, thankfully. So bit of luck involved, but yeah, you need that, don't you? Swansea, okay, they've scored 73% of their goals at home. Hernandez, Michu likely still to be missing come this weekend. Boney looked inspired in that last game, incidentally, though, and he could be key to their attacking threat. More important, as I've touched on already, is the fact that this Fulham defence is really poor, and I regularly state that for me, if you're looking at overs, really bad defences play a bigger part than great attacks a lot of the time, and certainly in terms of value, you can have 2 sides that haven't got particularly wonderful attacking records, but if you've got 2 defences that are struggling on show, overs can often be a decent value punt here. 6 to 5 is great, and here's why I think so. Fulham's defence, they've kept 2 clean sheets in the last 20 home games. That's quite astounding, really. 60% of games at Craven Cottage have gone over 2.5 this season, and in fact, during Martin Jol's reign, their 67% of games have gone over 2.5 goals, which is really incredible when you could think back to what they were like under Hodgson, what a defensive unit they were a lot of the time. And Jol's attacking instincts really coming through in this team. 67%, 2 out of 3 games. It's, you know, it really makes for pretty reading if you're looking to back overs. Fulham have also scored in every home game so far, which suggests that they can offer something in attack. And 3 of the 4 Premier League meetings between the two sides have indeed paid out that over 2.5 goals mark. So at 6 to 5, I think it's cracking value, and that's the way I'm going to go for my second bet. Third and final one, undernerd a little bit about this one because it was one of those gut feels straight away looking at the coupon that I liked, and I often think those ones can be a little bit dangerous. It's Hull against Palace. Hull are shades of odds on around 20 to 23, a bit of a strange price out. You don't see that too often. I believe that's with Bet Victor. They've actually only played bottom half teams at home so far this season. They've won 3, drawn 2, and all 3 wins were 1-0. And it seems to be a bit of a speciality for Hull, it has to be said. What is not a speciality for Palace is their away form. They've lost all of their away games so far, and even if you look back into last season, in their promotion year in the Championship, they were pretty dire away from home. 15th in the away standings. They won 6, drew 7 and lost 10. Only Bristol City, who, if you remember, finished rock bottom of the table, and Ipswich, who were really struggling in the early part of the season until Mick McCarthy came along, scored less goals on their travels than Palace. And it makes you think that, the fact that they're struggling away from home this season is not even really to do with the step up in quality. It's just a wider worry for the club, really. Credit to them for their point against Everton. Palace, they're not a brilliant side. I think they're out of their depth, but at the same time, able to go out and get a point on home turf. But that's going to be the key for them. Whoever takes over in the hot seat in the next couple of weeks needs to make that home form the absolute bedrock for them, because away, I just see them struggling all year, really. Unders, of course, the natural thought, bearing in mind those scorelines that I mentioned for Hull, the fact Palace scored so few away from home. 100% of Hull home games have actually been under so far. 60% of Palace away games this season, but 13 to 20. It's just a bit too skinny for me. If you fancy a big lump, then by all means go for it. But I'm going for Hull to win the game at 20 to 23. So quick recap then before I hit the 8-minute mark. I'm breaking all my rules and betting on an Arsenal game. I've got under 2.5 goals, Arsenal-Southampton at 10 to 11. I've got Fulham-Swansea, I think a great value price for 6 to 5 over 2.5 goals. And Hull-Palace, I'm going for the Hull win at 20 to 23. Good luck this weekend.